Good morning. The IMF holds its growth outlook for the Korean economy at the same percentage as predicted earlier in July, but isn't as enthusiastic about the global economy. Some 160,000 Chinese tourists in Korea spending an estimated $374 million in the last week. But did they enjoy their trip enough to return? Recreational activities in Seoul. The concrete jungle has pockets of areas perfect for leisure activities, recreational sports, and some for the thrill seekers. Stir-frying food, the healthier and no-nonsense way would be to grill it. See a few appliances that will let you grill with ease on Korea Today, Wednesday, October 8th, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Korea Today. I'm Oh Jin-ju alongside Kim Young and Kim Min-jung, who is apparently losing her voice because of the cold.
Well, it's the weather. Can you blame me, right? Well, good morning, everyone. For you gazers out there, tonight you can expect to see the red moon or the blood moon, as they're called. People in this part of the world will see the first full eclipse, lunar eclipse, in 3 years. This is when the Earth is right between the sun and the moon, and the Earth's shadow will cover the moon.
Right.
It's going to be beautiful.
Yep, it will, and you will see that shade of red, and it can be a little bit creepy, but it is a naturally occurring instance. There's nothing biblical about this. The second lunar eclipse of the year, it was the first one actually this year was seen in other parts of the world, but it was difficult for people in Korea to see, or in these lying regions. So this one will be visible from right here. There will be a few more coming, though. I believe there's 2 more that are slated for the year 2014 after this.
For those of you in Korea, the lunar eclipse will start at around 6 p.m. Korea time as the sun goes down, and will continue until 8:24 p.m. And the maximum eclipse will be at 7:54 p.m. So don't forget to watch that 2-hour window of this amazing sight.
Right. It's going to be beautiful.
So maybe you could make a reservation at a nice restaurant with a patio and then see it right there over dinner, right?
So romantic.
That's the perfect way to go, right? But for now, we'll jump to our top headline for this morning. In an unprecedented UN meeting, North Korea expressed opposition to the UN's human rights resolution imposed on Pyongyang, but also said it is open for continuous talks on its human rights situation with the international community. The comments were made by a North Korean envoy for the UN during a special session regarding its human rights issues at the UN headquarters on Tuesday local time.
And DPRK is totally against misusing human rights for regime change in the country. And in particular, as I said, for United States, who is not recognizing DPRK as a sovereign state.
The North added it would continue to cooperate with the international community over its human rights issues and expressed its willingness to open talks with any country that wants sincere dialogue. The session, the first of its kind held at the UN, was attended by some 100 people, including diplomats from other countries. The North also expressed opposition against the UN resolution on the issue, saying that it would mean a confrontation.
Thank you very much for your participation.
Korea and Cote d'Ivoire have agreed to boost their economic cooperation in the fields of transportation, electricity, and construction following a summit between the leaders of the two countries. President Park Geun-hye and her Ivory Coast counterpart Alassane Ouattara signed an MOU on expanding trade and investment between the two countries, which stood at around $140 million last year.
아프리카 국가들 중에서 첫 수교국인 코트 디부아르 정상의 최초 방한이라는 데 각별한 의미가 있는데 다시 한번 대통령님의 방한을 진심으로 환영합니다.
With the new MOU, Korea plans to tap into the resource-rich West African country whose economy grows by about 8% annually. Cote d'Ivoire is the third African country President Park held a summit with, following talks with Uganda and Mozambique.
The International Monetary Fund kept its growth outlook for the Korean economy unchanged from its July projection, while slightly lowering the outlook for global economic growth for this year and the next. In its World Economic Outlook released on Tuesday, the Korean economy is expected to grow 3.7% this year and 4% in 2015, while maintaining recovery largely in part to its exports and increasing investment, according to the IMF report. Meanwhile, the IMF revised the growth forecast for the world economy downward to 3.3% for this year, 0.1 percentage points lower than the July outlook, citing an increase of downside risks, including geopolitical tensions and volatility compression in financial markets.
Korea's retail and tourism industries were all smiles after a record number of Chinese tourists came to the country for their National Day holiday, which came to an end just yesterday. But will the good times continue for the coming years? To tell us about the challenges Korea is facing to retain these Chinese customers, we're now joined by Arirang News' Kim Kani here in the studio. Good morning, Kani.
Morning, Jinju. Well, as you mentioned, more and more Chinese tourists are booking their flights back into the country, and they're actually having a very significant impact on Korea's economy. This year alone, they're expected to spend about $19 billion in the country, and this spending is equivalent to exporting about 92,000 cars. Now, despite the economic boost that they're going to be giving into Korea, experts say that there needs to be more incentives and diverse services in order to make sure that these tourists return. So take a look at why these Chinese tourists are visiting Korea in the first place and what kind of long-term measures need to be done.
It's that time of year when retailers expect sales to surge due to the Chinese National Day holiday. A record-breaking 160,000 Chinese are estimated to have traveled to Korea for vacations from October 1st to 7th this year. The average Chinese tourist is estimated to have spent some $2,500 during their trip here, meaning $374 million was injected into the domestic economy in less than a week. More than half that total went toward shopping. But is that reason enough to make the long trip to Korea? Analysts worry that it's not. Less than 30% of the Chinese tourists who came to Korea for the National Day holiday are expected to return in the future.
The concerning part is that the consumption pattern of Chinese tourists is limited to shopping. The product brands these tourists buy are mostly global ones that can be bought in other countries as well. If Korea starts losing price competitiveness, it won't be as appealing for the Chinese to visit Korea.
Peck says demand among Chinese travelers for leisure activities will rise as their income levels do. For that reason, it's recommended that Korea begin investing more time and energy into culture, leisure, and entertainment travel packages that are unique to Korea, including but not limited to Hallyu-related experiences and historical sites.
I wish there were more activities to experience the Korean culture, such as trying on the traditional costume hanbok and more tours outside of Seoul. I personally want to go down to Chuncheon to taste their trademark chicken dish, 닭갈비.
I want to visit Busan and also try making chicken ginseng soup and kimchi while I'm here.
Affordable lodging is another obstacle. There are some 190 tourist hotels currently in Seoul, and less than 1/5 are 2- to 3-star hotels. But what's hindering new construction projects are government regulations.
Hotels are currently banned from being within 200 meters of a school, but because of the growing demand for accommodations, this regulation is expected to be eased in the long term.
But before these flexible measures kick in, there are other unique accommodation experiences that could suit the needs of Chinese visitors, such as traditional Korean hanoks. In fact, this hanok hotel has seen its number of Chinese customers more than double this year alone. The lower price tags and shopping opportunities may be luring Chinese tourists here now, but Korea will need to show it has more to offer to keep the millions of Chinese tourists coming year after year.
Heard that conglomerates are also jumping into this hotel business, keeping their eye on the growing demand for Chinese tourists. What more can you tell about that?
Well, as I mentioned earlier in my news story, regulations that have been prohibiting hotels from being constructed are expected to be eased. And in the second half of the year, 11 business hotels will or have already been constructed. And among these are major conglomerates such as Samsung or Lotte that are seeking to meet two different needs. The first is to target luxury customers who are seeking to stay at top-notch hotels, and the other is tourists looking for relatively cheap business hotels.
And where were some of the places these Chinese tourists visited the most this year? Were there any new trends you came across?
Well, with shopping being one of the main reasons for these Chinese tourists to visit Korea, definitely shopping Mecca, Myeongdong, and Dongdaemun Park were the top places that recorded the places. And what's interesting is that among the returning visitors to Korea, they showed more tendency to visit traditional palaces. And actually, the economic ripple effects coming from Chinese tourists are expected to be a little over 1.5% of Korea's GDP for this year. And so you can just imagine how much of a big impact they're going to have on Korea's economy, prompting calls for new measures to make sure they return to Korea.
1.5% of the GDP is a big number, and it definitely gives a reason for Korea to do more to retain these Chinese tourists.
Definitely.
Well, thank you, Connie, for the report this morning.
My pleasure.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. And a lot of political strife and bickering marked the start of parliamentary inspections of government ministries, agencies, and institutions yesterday. Let's take a look at a couple stories regarding the first day of the annual audit. First on Joseonilbo, and the headline says, Environment and Labor Committee's parliamentary audit ends with zero inquiries on policy. Now, if we take a look at the top subtitle right here, yesterday it was 12 hours of an auditing session on the Environment and Labor Committee, except that it came to an end without getting any actual work done. The ruling and opposition lawmakers went through a completely crippled operation at the National Assembly, particularly over the opposition's push to call in conglomerate owners to testify and the ruling party's refusal to cooperate. Now, backbiting among the 16 lawmakers yesterday led the committee meeting to be canceled, and the rival parties are expected to continue clashing in the coming days as the two sides remain poles apart on most of the issues. Meanwhile, over on Gyeongyang Shinmun, we have a couple images here regarding the first day of the audit yesterday. This is titled Largest Ever Parliamentary Audit Kicks Off. Lawmakers bring in eye-catching props. Now, if you remember, the parliamentary standoff due to the wrangling over the special title bill twice delayed the starting date of the annual inspection. Thus, the tight schedule and the record high number of agencies that the National Assembly must monitor have generated quite some skepticism about the effectiveness of this year's audit. Regardless, though, some lawmakers were busily questioning ministries and agencies yesterday. As you see in the pictures, they even brought in a variety of props such as toothpaste, relevant photos, also wood-cultivated ginseng, for example, to raise the different social issues and problems existing in the various sectors of society. And switching gears now to another big headline from yesterday on the side of 중앙일보. This one is on Samsung Electronics. And the header reads, Legend of Galaxy's success at standstill, reverting back to Samsung semiconductor era. If we do take a look at these headlines, the world's top smartphone maker said its third quarter operating profit plunged by 1/3, or nearly 60% from a year earlier. When it comes to semiconductors, Samsung said it did show relatively good performance with almost $2 billion of operating profit. However, in reality, the paper says Samsung has been pushed back to the old days of Samsung 10 years ago when it used to only depend on memory chips. Meanwhile, if you do take a look at the graph here, as for the IT and mobile sectors, which is where Samsung is expected to be more strong in today, business profits dropped significantly in the third quarter of this year. And lastly, we'll take a look at the Mail Business newspaper for this story here. And this one is on the growth forecast of the Korean economy, and it's called the Bank of Korea again cuts this year's economic growth forecast. Now, although earlier on in the program's headlines, you heard that the International Monetary Fund has kept its growth outlook for the Korean economy unchanged from its July projection, the Bank of Korea, on the other hand, is expected to further lower its outlook for the economic growth. And if we do take a look at the graph during the parliamentary inspection into the central bank yesterday, BOK Governor Lee Ji-yeol said our economy is expected to grow at the mid 3% range this year, which is a downgraded growth projection from the earlier 4% growth forecast in April and 3.8% forecast in July. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Wednesday. Now following are the stock numbers from Tuesday.
You know, the fluctuating temperatures and the dry conditions make the perfect recipe for sounding like moi.
Yep,
So.
that's right. So these early morning chilly temperatures, as well as the daytime temperatures, which actually sometimes even require air conditioning, it really gets you off guard and messes with your immune system.
That's right. So do drink plenty of water and stay warm.
Yep, stay warm out there. And to see what the weather is going to be like today, we'll get a check on the weather with our Chun Song-cho, who doesn't have a cold. She seems to be clear of that right now. We'll go to her. She joins us from Yeouido.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I'm reporting live from the Hangang Park from Yeouido District. We're starting off with a chilly morning at 12 degrees Celsius. According to the lunar calendar, today is Hallo, which is supposed to be the day, the time of the season when it's just getting cold enough for dew to turn frost. And maybe because of that, over in Gangwon-do province, the Seoraksan mountain saw the first frost and freeze of the season yesterday morning, which occurred about 10 days earlier than last year. Clear skies and a cold air mass in the upper atmosphere created the perfect setup for radiational cooling, making temperatures dip to negative overnight. Today's weather conditions are similar to yesterday, so some areas may wake up to patchy frost this morning as well. Skies will be blue and mostly clear throughout the day, so those of you who are planning to check out the total lunar eclipse this evening should have no problem. It'll start from about 7:24 p.m. And with that, let's take a closer look at today's temperature readings. With the morning temperatures similar to yesterday, afternoon highs are slightly warmer by a couple of degrees all around the nation, hovering around the mid-20s. Seoul is at 24, Daegu and Gwangju the warmest at 25, and Gangneung the coolest at 21 degrees Celsius. This is all from me with the weather forecast. Back to you, Jinju.
Now we're tracking the pro-democracy movement in Hong Kong, the Nobel Prize in Physics, and the Ebola outbreak in Spain. For the latest on these global stories, we check in with our Eunice Kim at the News Center. Over to you, Eunice.
Thank you, Jinju. We have a date. The Hong Kong city government will launch formal dialogue with pro-democracy student leaders on this Friday. Issues of political reform will be on the table when leaders of the Federation of Students meet with the territory's chief secretary and undersecretary for constitutional and mainland affairs. But it remains unclear how effective the meetings will be, given that significant disagreements remain, particularly over the 2017 chief executive election. The student leaders, of course, calling for universal suffrage vis-a-vis the Hong Kong government's full support of Beijing's decision for a ballot of pre-screened candidates. Protests continued and barricades remained in the districts of Admiralty, Causeway Bay, and Mong Kok as demonstrators demonstrators vowed not to stop until a substantive breakthrough is made. An altercation between protesters and the anti-Occupy Blue Ribbon movement at Admiralty last night highlighted the growing impatience and anger. Some smaller companies saw a dip of 80% in sales during the commercially lucrative Golden Week holiday, according to the Hong Kong Retail Management Association, presumably due to the blockades. 3 Japanese-born scientists are the latest honorees in this Nobel Prize week. From Stockholm, Shuji Nakamura of UC Santa Barbara in the U.S. and Isamu Akasaki and Hiroshi Amano, both of Nagoya University in Japan, were named the new laureates for this year's Nobel Prize for Physics. They are credited with the invention of the blue light-emitting diodes in the 1990s, the missing piece to creating the white light energy-efficient LEDs commonly used today. The committee said the 3 researchers recognized that gallium nitride would lead to the blue color and discovered a way to produce the light even more efficiently by adding in other materials. The trio will share $1.2 million in prize money and the honor of being named Nobel laureates. And in Spain, health officials are scrambling to control Ebola spread after a nursing assistant there was diagnosed with the disease Monday, marking the first infection outside of West Africa. 4 people were quarantined at the Madrid hospital where the nursing assistant was infected, including her husband and a man who had traveled to Nigeria. More than 50 others were placed under observation, among them her relatives and other healthcare workers. Madrid's regional government even obtained a court order to euthanize and incinerate her pet dog against the couple's objections, saying there is no guarantee that infected dogs cannot transmit the virus to humans. This as the organization that had been spearheading efforts in Ebola-ravaged West Africa, Doctors Without Borders, reports that one of their staff from Norway has contracted the deadly virus. The staffer is being sent for treatment to Europe from Sierra Leone after being placed in isolation on Sunday. With that, we'll wrap your look at the global headlines we are following this morning.
And still to come on Korea Today, get physical and have fun doing it. That these recreational sports are not your typical everyday activities, but that's what makes them extra fun. Check out the leisure sports that are gaining popularity right here in the heart of Seoul.
Exporting cultural content, cultural goods to other countries around the world. There has been one event that's been facilitating this and creating a network for exportation of Korean cultural property. And joining us is Im Yoon-hee to talk more about that. Good morning.
Exactly. Good morning. So I hope you're taking care not to catch this cold that's going around.
I've been staying away. They've been all staying away from me. I'm just, get away.
Good idea. Lots of fluids. Anyway, so every year there's a performing arts market in Seoul takes place. And PAMS for short, it's an all-inclusive Korean performing arts market that we really try to emphasize here in Korea. And so this year marks their 10th year of success, and they have a lot in store. Take a look.
It's been a decade now since the performing arts market in Seoul first made its debut, with the clear intention of creating a place where Korean performers can meet international artists and companies. And just like any other market, there are buyers and there are sellers. Those from foreign countries looking to bring Korean performances into their homeland get the chance to purchase these performances and export them abroad. And now, 760 performances later, PAMS has made connections with over 60 different countries, connecting performers to buyers around the world.
Well, I am looking at the younger companies. I'm looking at hip-hop, which I have a couple of times programmed hip-hop companies from Korea because they are fantastic dancers. So I'm really looking at the whole width of Korean dance.
Korea's modern and contemporary art has rapidly been flourishing over the years, with each new generation coming up with even more clever and even more creative works than those before them. And all of this expansion was due in large part to Korea's international exchange and cooperation. Now Pam's is a rich source for further development. Since it first opened its market to the global community in 2006, Pam's has seen a steady increase of sales, last year hitting an all-time high of 131 performances, with even higher expectations for 2014. And this year, under the theme of a window to contemporary performing arts in Asia, Pam's is offering a unique mixture of performance events that range in both style and category. Within the program is also the Pam's Choice, which is a selective process of gathering 10 works to be shown on stage as a face of Korean contemporary performance.
The meaning of contemporary art in Korea is to reflect the situation of our modern times. Contemporary art is always sought after in this arts market, and this time, with a panel made up of both Korean and foreign judges, we selected the 10 Pam's Choices. Regardless of the category, they show Korean traditional subject matter expressed in a modern form so that it can be understood by the global audience.
Pam's has become the largest performing arts market in Asia, where Korean performers of all ages and backgrounds gather to help further establish itself as truly a window to the contemporary performing arts community of Asia. And it's through these transactions that Korea's culture can grow and be shared with other countries around the world.
Seems like a great opportunity for people to make the networks and the connections and also bring some of these acts to their town, wherever they may be from. So is this limited just to buyers and also people who are in that business?
No, absolutely not. They're inviting everyone to come check out the shows, the performances, and they've even created a parallel program, the Pam's Link program, where they're highlighting and bringing attention to some of the other shows and performances that take place throughout the city. And so they really want people to, not only foreign visitors, but everyone else, to check out everything that they have to offer. And so they're offering discounts. They're even offering complimentary tickets on some of them. And you're going to want to find all that information on their website.
Well, it looks great. It looks like a festival of a kind.
Right, almost
not
like
just
a festival.
Yeah, not just for the buyers, but just people in general who might want to check out some contemporary performances as well as a mix of the traditional and the past.
Right, so I was actually talking to some of the buyers yesterday, some of the foreign visitors, and they were saying that Pam's really has become over the years not just a marketplace, but now almost like a social platform for them to connect not only with some of the Asian groups and performances, but also with everybody else around the world. And so really people are going there to meet other people for future collaborations. They're going there to meet former colleagues.
The performers are going there too.
Exactly. So it's a huge gathering of the contemporary arts performance in Korea.
Well, it sounds great. It's good to know that there are programs like this that do facilitate the improvement and also the spread of Korean cultural content. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
And stay with us on Korea Today. We'll be looking at some grills. They're not too big, they're not too small, they're just the perfect size, and these grills can make you the master top chef. We'll be looking at that later. You love to grill, but you're not too fond of the smoke and all that smell, the scent that settles into your apartment or house, hair and clothes. Hot Items introduces appliances that get the job done without the smell, the smoke, or even the hassle, but you do have to clean up afterwards.
So it looks like we're going to have some barbecue later on in the show.
Right.
Get this, over 12,000 Seoulites have altogether lost some 14 tons in body weight over the past 3 months. Wow.
But breaking it down, that means each person lost a little over 1 kilogram. Now, this was all part of a weight loss project run by the Seoul city government. For more, Sami Sarang joins us in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Pretty big deal, right? Now, the project is called Healthy Weight 333, and what this stands for is losing 3 kilograms over 3 months and then maintaining that loss for another 3 months. Now, this project, it's the second time that it's being run this year after it was run last year, and it was such a huge success. And as the name suggests, it's to help residents achieve a healthy weight. So on the official project website, there is
exercise videos, healthy eating tips, and they also organized dozens of local support groups and local exercise groups as well.
I think those exercise groups would be great to encourage one another to lose weight.
And make friends while you're doing it too.
Exactly, and like you said, motivate each other to stay on track, because when you do it by yourself, it's easy to lose sight of your goals after 3 days.
For sure.
Now, moving on, recently there was the issue of rising cigarette prices here in Korea. Well, this time it's coffee prices. So because of the severe ongoing drought in Brazil, which, as you know, produces a third of the world's coffee beans, yesterday the Wall Street Journal, they predicted that world coffee prices in all countries will increase as well.
Really? The coffee prices in Korea are already high. If
they
go
ridiculous.
up even more, I'm quitting coffee.
Like cigarettes.
And no more coffee.
Well, like you mentioned, coffee prices are already expensive. So whether it will get even more expensive, whether we will have to fork out, I don't know, $6-7 for our morning coffees, we'll just have to wait.
No way.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Now, trending in sports news is Park In-bi, the world #2 pro golfer, and her wedding photos. So these photos, they were taken in, where else but a golf country club in Gyeonggi-do province. And this is actually where the wedding will be held as well next Monday. And many of our golf friends are expected to attend as well, including Yoo So-yeon and Choi Na-yeon, who, as you can see here, are the bridesmaids.
She looks gorgeous. Very different from what we have seen in the matches.
Yeah, just in the training gear and the cap.
Right. Yeah, but who's the lucky man?
Well, his name's Nam Gi-hyuk, and he's actually Park In-bi's swing coach.
Oh.
So they met around 7 years ago in California when he was a pro golfer himself, and then they started dating soon after that.
Wow.
And actually, Park In-bi, on numerous occasions, on numerous interviews, she's actually given him credit for a lot of her success.
A great team both on and off the field.
Exactly.
What a
exactly,
perfect
a great
love
team.
story.
Yeah. Now let me finish off with this picture over here. This lady, she's from Uganda, and on her sign here it says, "My operation went well, I'm going back home. Thank you everyone. I love you, Korea." Now the story behind this, she's a mother of 5 and she had a heart valve defect that needed to be operated on, but she didn't have enough money. So her children, they wrote a letter to a Korean charity. Word got out, and hundreds of Koreans, they responded by raising around $25,000 to fly her here, operate, and then fly her back. And she's now back home, healthy with her children.
Good to hear that she's healthy and well.
A nice heartwarming story to end with.
Thank you, Miss Orang.
Thank you. Now, coming up, our Keith Kim will be taking us to some of the places in Seoul where we can enjoy some leisure sports, so stay tuned.
Now, Seoul is definitely a dynamic city, the concrete jungle filled with the city, the tall skyscrapers, and much more than that. There are some pockets of areas where you can get some leisure activities done, especially along the Han River. But the Hangang River is like a little bit too obvious, right? So our Keith Kim joins us with a few areas that are, I guess, a little bit secluded within the city. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning.
Good
Well,
morning.
there's plenty of places in Seoul. If you guys haven't noticed, I'm a bit stronger, healthier today. It's been a week since you last saw
I
me.
couldn't really tell, but you look the same as last week.
Well, I did
Maybe
have.
if you wore something a little bit more revealing.
I'll have something tighter next week. But we did have a chance to go work out and have a lot of exercise in Seoul. And that's the beauty of Seoul. Within the city limits, there's lots of places where you can go, exercise, and have a really good time. And it's also very convenient as well. So we made a video, I'd like to show you right now. So how about we take a look?
All right, we'll take a look.
Well, it's a piece of nature within the city, and today we start from a popular park for Seoulites. It's full of trees and wide grassy fields. So right now we're at World Cup Park, which is a place right in the middle of Seoul with lots of things to do. There's golf, there's camping, there's picnics, there's lots of things, but today we're gonna go golfing. So come with me.
What's your handicap?
Not very good. Well, where we're going, it's a 5-minute walk from the entrance to the golf course. but it's actually more convenient to take this eco-friendly electric car.
I love the name. It's 맹꽁이 전기차.
It's very cute.
It's like a glorified golf cart.
And while we're going, we could see small groups of people playing what was called park golf in this wide field. And the rules are actually not so different from regular golf, but it's actually scaled down 1/50th the size.
It's like miniature golf.
Yeah, it's a combination between
It's
that
expensive
and
to
regular.
play golf in Korea, but park golf is great because it's affordable.
Well, you don't even need to bring your own gear too, because when you go there, you can rent everything for a very, very small price. You use these wooden clubs and these plastic balls, and yeah, you play golf. It's actually not about distance too, it's more about accuracy.
Oh. Balls are quite big.
클럽과 공이 1,000원.
1,000원.
그래서 5,000원.
Billiard balls. Bring my 8-ball.
Well, I actually gave it a try myself, and this is the only place in Seoul where you could play 18 holes. And it takes about 2 hours to complete one game, and it's actually not too hard, it's pretty easy.
Nice shot.
But it's actually a real workout. Not as hard as regular golf. My turn. So if you guys have family, I really recommend you guys to go out, have some fun. It's really easy, a lot of fun for everybody. Next place we went to is Bukhansan Mountain. It's the highest place in Seoul. Right now we're at Bukhansan Mountain, which is the most popular mountain to climb in Seoul. And I'm gonna go hiking, but not that mountain, something a little special. And where we're going, we're actually jumping right into winter. So we need this jacket, we need special shoes, and we also need gloves too. Feeling a little nervous. Right when you walk in, the cold air hits you like a giant wall of ice. And that's exactly what this place is. It's a giant wall of ice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the largest artificial ice climbing wall in the world, and it's actually in the Guinness Book of World Records. Temperatures here, it's kept -4 degrees Celsius at all times, and the ice, it's 50 centimeters thick.
It could also be the world's largest meat locker.
Well, the expert here, he gave me a demonstration, made it look real easy, but I'm telling you, it is not easy. It's very, very
wow.
20 meters high.
You
from
climbed
the
up
third
that thing?
basement
We're gonna
floor
watch you
to
climb?
the 5th floor.
We are. This is crazy. There's a huge wall of ice right here. This is crazy. All right, so in the past, ice climbing is only available during the winter, but here, obviously, it's year-round. Climbing! And even though I'm a beginner, I started climbing right away. Although I didn't do it very well, you could get started right away. It's really scary. Thing is, I always thought I was pretty athletic, but it's more than just being an athlete.
조금만 더 올라가요, 조금만.
Oh, so you just jump off?
Jump off. That's it. It was a lot of fun. It's very cold. Great experience though. Right in the middle of Seoul, I could do this even when the weather is warm. Get some cool, fresh exercise. All right, well, my next sports challenge was in Hongdae, and where we went, there was crazy lights, bump and dance music, got the blood pumping, and this place is actually a bowling alley with glow-in-the-dark lanes and bowling balls too. This is a glow-in-the-dark bowling alley. Even the balls, they glow in the dark too, so it's a lot of fun. It's a fun atmosphere to be around. I'm thinking this one right here, this nice colorful ball. Okay, so here at the Rock Bowling Alley, bowling is just more than just a sport. It's good times, it's fun. Bowling with the laser lights, the loud music. I couldn't help but just dance a little bit.
Bowling and dancing.
Well, at first, it was mostly the younger crowd that was drawn to the loud music and the lights, but it's actually spreading to the older group as well.
This is my first time here, and it's very fun.
It's great to have fun as a group.
So knocking down pins, breaking out dance moves. it's a great way to relieve stress. But if you got time, don't take my word for it. I really recommend to try it out this weekend.
All right, it looks like the first thing that comes to my mind are the ideas. I mean, the ideas that people come up with to play some of these sports and some of the activities that they planned out for everyone out there. It's readily available in Seoul.
Well, just like you mentioned, the ideas, they're very, very unique. So, for example, golf, which requires a lot of space and a lot of room, which Seoul doesn't actually have too much of. They needed a unique idea, a unique way to get people to have an opportunity to play golf.
Well, it's a spin-off from golf, but one thing I like about it is that they just have these thick, huge clubs and these thick balls. And
easier to hit, right?
Easier
Those
to hit.
balls.
Easier to
so you can
hit.
take your
Bigger,
kids
and
the whole family can just go and just hit away and have fun.
That's right. Let's talk about the glow-in-the-dark bowling alley, right?
Well,
That's quite something else.
Well, it's actually very, very unique, right? It's a place you go, you bowl, and you also have fun. So it's kind of a great, exciting atmosphere. So you have the best of both worlds. You get exercise, you bowl, and also at the same time, you enjoy the atmosphere with your friends and, have a good time.
So how do you concentrate, though? All those neon lights and all the lasers going off around you?
Just the way I like it.
And of course, we can't leave out the ice climbing. For beginners like me, it's great to hear that there are experts to help out at the place.
Absolutely. Well, the place that I went to, there's an expert that can show you exactly what to do. And even if you're a beginner, you can just go there right away, start that first day and start climbing right away. And if you're a beginner, I actually recommend starting with the indoor rock climbing. And there's about 40 indoor rock climbing gyms throughout Seoul. So there's lots of places where you can start and go. And also at the same time, even if you're a beginner, there's about 200,000 active climbers within Seoul. So you're not going to be alone at the same time. If you're in Seoul, there's two places that I would actually like to recommend. The first place is Seoul Tuksum Hangang Park, and the other is Porame Park. And those places, they have experts over there that give you tips, and they also give you a spot, and they have gear too. So if you fall,
rock climbing too.
Yeah, rock climbing. So if you fall like I did, you're safe. You're okay.
Okay, with the security equipment.
Absolutely. Yeah, you'll be safe.
Sounds like a lot of fun there. Rock climbing.
I'm still
bowling,
sore.
did everything. And maybe we'll see you bulk up, beef up a little more by next week too.
Tighter shirt. Got it.
Sounds great. Keith, thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
Well, certainly a lot of leisure sports there, and I'll be covering a lot of different sports as well, starting off with the 2014 Incheon Asian Paralympic Games, which is less than 10 days left. And despite the lack of coverage so far, there are a lot of expectations for the event. Now, with the Incheon Asian Paralympics Games taking place from the 18th to the 24th, the event will include 41 nations and more than 6,000 athlete and delegation, the most in event history. And of course, making the event even more special is the fact that North Korea will send their athletes for the first time, as 9 athletes will compete in 4 Paralympic events. And now moving over to the Korean national football team, this time will begin their training camp for the first time under manager Uli Stilicke on Tuesday. And as for the German head coach, he's looking forward to the new journey. With the 23-man roster coming together at the National Training Center, manager Uli Stilicke held a press conference calling for a new journey with the national team. He stated that he hopes to win the hearts of the fans, adding that each match will not be something that the fans will just watch on television and forget about shortly after, but leave a long impression. With the Asian Cup right around the corner, the 60-year-old manager looks to get a good jump start by winning the October friendlies against Paraguay and Costa Rica. And now over to Game 3 of the National League Division Series between the LA Dodgers and the St. Louis Cardinals, as Ri Hyun-jin took the mound hoping to give the Dodgers a 2-1 series lead. But while the South Korean lefty threw another gem against the St. Louis Cardinals, throwing 6 innings, giving up just 1 run on a solo shot to Matt Carpenter in the 3rd inning of the game, the Dodgers bullpen collapses once again as soon as Ryu is taken out of the game. Scott Elber, who came into relief in the 7th inning, gives up a 2-run shot to Colton Wong as the Cardinals take Game 3 3-1, taking a 2-1 series lead. Meanwhile, Clayton Kershaw is set to start in a must-win Game 4 on a 3-day rest. And now finishing things off with some Tuesday night KBO action, the Nexen Heroes win one over the Kia Tigers 6-3, with the Hanwha Eagles beating the Lotte Giants on a walk-off home run in the 9th inning 8-5, and the LG Twins rally to beat the Samsung Lions 9-5. Meanwhile, let's take a look at the SK Wyverns trying to close in on the 4th place spot as they take on the NC Dinos. Now, of course, going into the game here, now the NC Dinos went hitless on Monday against the LG Twins, go hitless for another 3 innings on Tuesday until back-to-back singles give them the 1-0 lead thanks to Iho Jun's RBI single to left center. Stays that way as gold medalist EJ Hawk throws a gem going into the 9th inning, but here come the SK Wyverns. Cho Dong-hwa bunt singles to the pitcher. That scores the tying run. Next play, Park Jong-gun, that's a hit to left center. In comes the winning run, and ball game over as the SK Wyverns win in the bottom of the 9th inning, 2-1. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
It was really hard to concentrate on the show because all of this delicious smell coming from a barbecue party we have set up in the studio. Good morning, Jesse.
Good morning. Happy to be here. And I figured you guys might be hungry today, it being early morning. Maybe you didn't have breakfast. So I brought tasty treats. Not only that, but the way in which to prepare them. And on today's hot item, we'll be looking at several cooking products that cook without creating smoke and in some cases smell as well. Right. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is the Drum Cook by Daedong FND. So normally when you're cooking something, for instance, on the stove, you have to make sure to be continuously monitoring it so it doesn't overcook. And I'm a terrible cook. So
and you have to bear the heat and the smoke and the smell as well.
Exactly. So this makes everything a lot more convenient.
So this kind of looks like a barrel, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. That's a good observation. So there is 2 barrels actually, and the way that the Drum Cook works is the inner barrel turns slowly at 360 degrees to evenly cook the food that is inside. So not only that, but there's a silicone cap that traps in the food's natural moisture so that it remains moist and tender on the inside while still being crispy on the outside. So basically, you end up with a perfect product at the end of it. As you can see there, it's easy, convenient to use. You simply snap the lid on, set the timer, let it go, and then before you know it, you're good to go.
And even for fish, it doesn't crush because it rotates very slowly and in a...
Exactly, and you can throw anything in there. As you saw, fish as well as noodles, pasta, and vegetables and anything you want as well. Yeah, you can also season or spice whatever food you want before you put it in. So what I'd like to do now is maybe show you a little bit of it in action. So I'll just go ahead and take this off. And as you can see inside, we have some pork or samgyeopsal, quite a big piece cooking in there. So it rotates and cooks it evenly. And now the great thing is it separates the grease as well so that you end up with a healthier product in the end. Yeah,
so we won't have to worry about grease splashing all over the place. And
that's right. And it's healthier in the end, and we will definitely enjoy this after the show.
Can I have a taste of this?
You sure can.
We don't have a chopstick, so I'll have to use my hands.
It was cooked a bit earlier. I'm not sure if it's still warm. How is it?
It's still good.
Okay.
It's kind of crisp on the outside and moist on the inside.
Right.
So it gives that perfect taste.
That's exactly the idea. So what we have right here is a very cool product. It's the Zagel Simple by Zagel, and it cooks using infrared light.
Infrared light.
How high-tech is
that?
that?
How does that work?
So now the infrared light helps to reduce the smoke and completely eliminates the smell as well. So it's environmentally friendly, and the reason it uses infrared light is because infrared light actually reaches the inside of the food first. So the infrared light cooks from the inside, it heats up the grill, which cooks from the outside, so you get a double cooking effect.
So we can set up a whole grill indoors instead of like taking everything outdoors in the backyard.
Exactly.
Without any smoke, any
Exactly.
smell.
And so, you know, another great thing about it, what would be great for me is sometimes late at night I want to have some steak or some samgyeopsal, but you don't want to disturb the other members of your household who might be sleeping because of the smoke or the smell. So it's kind of perfect for those people who like a little bit of a heavier late
Overnight
night snack. Yeah, so right now, as you can see, we have some sweet potatoes right there, and we also have some cheese cooking inside of this squash.
So it's not just meat that we can cook on this device. We can also cook potatoes or whatever we want.
Absolutely, and also not only that, but it can be used to reheat already cooked food or thaw out frozen food. So let's put some food on here. I see those guys over there enjoying their samgyeopsal. How is it?
Thank you. It's good.
It's good? All right, I'm glad the people are happy. That's what it's all about. So what should we cook on here? Should we throw on maybe a little samgyeopsal?
Yeah, and some shrimp, please.
And some shrimp, okay. Let's get that going on. So yeah, it's completely smokeless.
And very practical
odorless.
as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because
it's
we
convenient.
can
It
use
fits
it
into
for other
space.
purposes.
Yep. Let's put some of this on as well. Let's put it all on. All right. So let's leave that to cook.
Okay, we can finish that after the show, perhaps.
Yes, absolutely.
And on to this next product.
Yes, and that would be the Homepin grill, and this basically uses charcoal to cook the product. The Homepin grill, sorry. So. Now, with a regular charcoal grill, you can get a lot of fire and a lot of smoke, which can obviously be a big
And it's really
problem.
difficult to light it up.
Exactly. So with this, as you can see on the video, it's easy. You just simply light it. It lights within 2 to 3 minutes. It's got a built-in fan, and the top of the product is filled with dozens of holes that act as sort of a heat barrier to help trap in both the heat and the smoke. And as you can see, the built-in fan right there.
Oh, so it traps the smoke inside the product,
Exactly.
so we won't be seeing any smoke.
Yeah, well, we can't see any right now. It's on right now, and it's cooking these wonderful skewers right here, which I'm sure we'll get a chance to try later.
Amazing.
Now, what you just saw right there on the video was the fact that it's designed so that the grease from whatever you're cooking does not drip onto the charcoal fire, which can produce harmful byproducts. So it's easy, convenient, safe, and most of all, tasty. Would you like to maybe try one of these?
Yes, please.
It might be a little hot. I don't know.
Ooh.
Maybe give it a little taste test.
It is hot.
It is hot? Okay. How is it?
It's perfect.
Awesome. Well, I'm always introducing things. I'd like to get a little chance to eat an actual sausage as well. Yeah.
You know, Koreans love the charcoal grilled flavor on the meat.
It's very good. You guys over there want some?
We already have some here.
I don't think they were talking to you, SG. They were talking to us.
Yeah,
SG, you want some. SG, the world doesn't revolve around you. We're hungry too. We're over here.
Well, this tastes perfect, and we'll have to finish this up after the show with SJ and Misorang, who are already full, I believe.
Yeah, I think they've had quite a fair share.
Okay, we'll have to toss it back to you guys.
All right, well, that smell, that scent, that aroma, and SJ, you just know how to make it look real good, right? Well, we're gonna have some right now, and we're gonna go ahead and say goodbye to our viewers first so we can go over there and enjoy that, right?
Right, thank you for watching.
All right, we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. and see you then. Bye-bye.